Idea is to tell you what's happening briefly at MMA. Still, some of the people are enjoying our lovely refreshment. Those who are watching from home, we are missing some lovely refreshments. The menu is really, really outstanding, including Kanjipuram Koda Idli. I believe it's very, very good and good for health too. Before I connect with the people who are watching online, let me briefly tell you what's happening at MMA so that you don't miss them. And in case you have missed your inbox, try to mark it in your diary so that you don't miss watching it either live or in person at MMA Management Center. Next event is happening on 23rd of November, that is on coming Saturday. It's on total discussion on digitization of courts, the experience from Kerala. How the courts are functioning on digitization, how technology taking over the legal system, the rule of law, and Honorable Justice Mr. Mohammed is coming all the way from Kerala to share his thing. This we are doing one of the partners for the Vinayaga Mission Law School. It's happening on 23rd January. It's only by invitation. We already send the invite to some of the people who are really connected with this topic. Then on Monday, 25th of November, we have Read and Grow series. We know Read and Grow, we do it very MMA, mainly for the benefit of management students. We strongly believe to be a good leader, you have to be a good reader. And I have seen many of the great leaders in MMA. They are very, very, very voracious reader. The subject what is chosen for this week discussion is Deep Work, Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World. That's again lovely book, and we got again an outstanding panel. As usual, Sangeeta is leading the conversation with Raghunath, Chief Financial Officer, and also Priya Silvaraj, Vice President and Country Head of Power Electronics. Then we also have on the 27th another interesting event, Emerging Technologies in Defense. We have outstanding technocrat who are going to be sharing the insights, Dr. Satish Reddy. He is a scientific advisor to the Raksha Mandri, Ministry of Defense, and also former head of DRDO. DRDO is the one which does all technological support and equipment for the defense services. And to chair this session, we have General Karanbir Brar. Brar is a GOC of Dakshina Bharat area. So that we'll have, and Sitaram will be delivering the welcome address. Please do come. You can really meet some outstanding speakers and outstanding personality that evening at MMA, 27th of November, Wednesday. Then on 2nd of December, again interesting event, Navigating Complexity Strategies for Simplifying Decision Making. We have an international speaker. It's yet to be confirmed. It's almost there, but we already blocked the date. He's coming all the way from Europe to share his insights. So this is happening at MMA on 2nd of December. On 4th of December, we have 11th edition of the Mr. KCG Varghese Endowment Lecture. Again, we have an outstanding speaker, the future of aerospace. The speaker is Mr. Nikhil Rao. He is director, head of Boeing India, is going to be the speaker on 27th of, on the 4th of December. Then on 12th of December, again interesting, R.K. Swamy Memorial Lecture. Again, outstanding speaker. I don't take more time. Then on Saturday, we have a conclave. It's a paid program, the CFO conclave. It's mainly meant for CFOs. We strongly believe CFO play a very, very important role because it's live webcast. You don't have to worry. It's only by invitation and paid program. We got some outstanding, about under 150 CFOs will be joining to really understand various standards, what is implemented, SEBI rules, guidelines for RBI. You know, we are discussing everything what the CFO should really be concerned about it. Then we have on Saturday, Saturday the 14th, CFO Conclave. Then we have another Read and Grow, Babu Krishnamurthy doing another interesting, anti-fragile, things that gain from disaster. So we have number of programs lined up till end of December. And coming to today's talk, very, very important subject. I think before I go to the subject, let me warmly welcome all the viewers watching the program live on all our social media channels, including LinkedIn. As usual, if there are any questions, please send your questions to the number which is flashed on your screen. We'll collate all of them and place it before the distinguished speaker. He's agreed to respond to all the questions what you're raising, but I only request you to focus the questions relevant to the theme which is being spoken to this evening. And warm welcome to all the people who are here today, who have joined us physically and personally, and all those other people who are also joined us from different organizations and to be here with us. It is indeed a pleasure to have you with us. Coming to today's topic is strategy, management and innovation in business. This is a subject, anything about management we don't discuss without anything strategy. But we always remember Peter Drucker's statement as culture eats strategy for breakfast. Actually, this is a statement which many of you read, and it eats breakfast if you don't plan it properly. And to make sure culture doesn't eat strategy for breakfast, The speaker today is going to share with you some of the very great insights to make sure that whatever you want to implement for a management and innovation business, you've got the right way to approach. Ladies and gentlemen, we have two outstanding speakers, the distinguished speaker for this evening, and also chair the session, equally very, very capable person who does number of implementation of strategy and all his initiatives, what he does in his business. Put your hand together. Welcome to speaker for this evening, Mr. Anil Kumar, founder and CEO of FreeElective and also founder of CEO of Jodi. And we have our Shivakumar, member of MMA Managing Committee and Director of Roots Industry Limited. Maybe once again, a very, very warm round of applause to our distinguished speaker. So all those who have joined us in person, if you have any questions, the question slips are available, pen is available, my people will come and pass it on. So please do write your questions and the question slip. As a policy, we don't pass on the microphone because we want there should be only one speaker and he's already there on the stage. You will do the speaking so that we want your questions to come. Do write your questions and in case you got any difficulty in thing, you dictate to my people. They will note down the question and give it to the people. That's what I think and really thank you for understanding. And let me have the privilege of introducing the distinguished speakers for this evening. May I have the AV please?
Mr. S. Anil Kumar is the founder and CEO of FreeElective LLC and also CEO of Jodi365.com, a high-end matchmaking app for elite singles. With decades of experience as a researcher, engineer, entrepreneur, and angel investor, Mr. Anil was the first lead associate at Hyde Park Angels. An IIT Madras alumnus and an Institute Blue, Mr. Anil holds advanced degrees in mechanical engineering, computational hydrodynamics, and an MBA from Chicago Booth. Based in Chennai, he tweets on entrepreneurship, relationships, and personal growth.
If you have first, Chairman, please.
Mr. C. Sivakumar, Director of Roots Industries India Limited and member of MMA's Managing Committee, is a strategic leader and serial entrepreneur recognized for redefining the SME manufacturing landscape with a focus on asset-light models and customer-centric innovation. His pioneering HR initiatives have been widely featured in major business publications. Mr. Sivakumar also holds leadership roles across various sectors, including skill training solutions and Plains Technologies, and has received numerous accolades, such as the India Award for Excellence in HR Practices.
I now request Shivakumar to set the context and give the opening remarks. Shivakumar. Yeah.
Thank you, Group Captain. Mr. Anil Kumar, the founder and CEO of FreeElective LLC, CEO of Jodi365. A large number of audience, ladies and gentlemen, viewers online, about probably more than thousands, and members of MMA from Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. A very warm welcome to today's evening session. It's actually a great privilege and honor to be present along with Anil Kumar, whom I know very closely for the last 10 years probably. That's the time my son took his admission in Booth, and Anil did talk very fondly about the capabilities of my own son. So thank you, Anil, for those nice words, encouraging words, and I'm glad that you have been in touch with me and my entire family in the last 8-9 years. Anil has been introduced to you. He's a great speaker. He's going to be sharing his thoughts about management, strategy, and innovation, which all of us are looking forward to. And let me come to that portion a little later after I welcome people people who are present here and also people who have joined live. For all those people who are new or who've joined new on webcast, I need to tell you that MMA is a very, very great organization with over 8,000 members from small, medium, and large industries. It's got chapters in Tamil Nadu and Pondicherry. And also, I need to share with you that it's won the All India Best Management Association Award 14 times in a row. Now, coming to today's topic, I'm a part of Roots and also been part of very large organizations. And I've found McKinsey coming for many sessions in these large organizations. So when a session is over, I don't want to name the organization, on strategy, then when I ask the managers, what did you learn about strategy? He says it's a very serious topic, best to be heard and not to be implemented. Okay. So that's how strategy works. But to put it in very simple terms, I leave it to the speaker today, but it is a step-by-step plan to achieve something that you want to achieve with your goal. It's a step-by-step plan. And if I ask my son, he tells me strategy is not about what you want to do, but decide what you should not do. So it's easy to say what you should not do so that you're not tempted in a world which has plenty of choices. So in a marketplace, I'm also part of angel investments. You find very small startups disrupting large organizations. You saw, I met the founder of Ather at some point in time, and I never thought that he can disrupt an electric vehicle market. Large companies couldn't compete with him. Many of them have started investing in Ather. And today, Ather is considered as a leader in the automobile sector. Such has been his strategy, such has been his innovation, and the type of management that he runs, very different from any other entrepreneur. So if you look at these startups with no capital, no borrowing, just on angel investment, they are able to give you a return much better than expected, and also they can challenge very large organizations. So what do they make? They very clearly, the youngsters are very, very clear on the innovation front. They come out with solutions for very complex problems, and you'll be surprised if you hear them on a pitch deck. So on the innovations front, you will find them. On strategy, they may not be as powerful as the large organization. Innovation front, yes, but on the strategy, they lack a bit. They have to be handheld, and they need to focus on a narrow width of things that they can compete on. So without strategy and innovation, you find that no company can survive. And today, even governments have strategy and innovation on implementing the schemes. Games have strategy and innovation. And so you're going to have a great time listening to Mr. Anil. And Anil also runs a very unique company, Jodi 365. It's not part of the talk today, but he runs as an entrepreneur, Jodi 365. Very complicated name, but a very apt name. Jodi itself is very difficult. To find a couple who are happily married is very difficult. So the Jodi is a very complicated name. And to say the Jodi was together 365 days in a year is much more complicated. So Anil, if you can touch upon what is the strategy to be adopted to make the Jodi work 365 days, I'll be very, very happy. Thank you, Anil. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks, Anil.
I hope you can hear me clearly. I had a private word with Shivakumar over here. I'll leave it to him. I'm not sure you'd want me to talk about Jodi 365 and what it takes to keep relationships successful. But first, thanks for having me over here. I'm especially pleased to see a lot more black-haired folks than gray-haired folks. And a big draw for me goes back to the connection that you made. Vikram your son and I have this Booth alum connection in common. I think back to when I was finishing up my MBA. This is a little over 15 years ago. And we read a lot about strategy, we read a lot about management, we read a lot about innovation. There's some perspective that you pick up from textbooks. And I'm not here to talk about strategy, innovation, and management from a theoretical perspective. I think about the options that were opening to me as I was finishing up this top-tier MBA. I had been an apprentice at an angel investment network at the time, Hyde Park Angels, which is today one of the largest investment groups, investment network, angel investment networks out of the Midwestern US. And had doors being graciously opened into venture capital for me to see what startups might be worth investing into. But then I had this itch to be an entrepreneur, to be in the trenches myself. I didn't think that I would be the kind of VC, a venture capitalist then, that the entrepreneur or some entrepreneur would respect. And I pursued the business opportunity that was most exciting to me at the time. Even though I'd been in the US for almost 15 years, no, more than 15 years at the time, was doing well professionally, where opportunity is what led me from India to the US a little more than 30 years ago. The same pursuit of opportunity brought me back to India a little over 15 years ago to do what I'm still doing, running a differentiated matchmaking platform and service, Jodi 365. So the perspective that I want to bring is that of a business owner and operator, not talk about strategy as you would read in some textbook, to talk about the lessons that I've learned, the scars that have informed my understanding of strategy and management and innovation. And talking about how I've tried to do a better job at my business, to make fewer mistakes, to learn from my mistakes. So when you think about strategy, you can look up dictionary definitions, you can look up what you might read in textbooks. Essentially, it's a plan of action. How do you go about winning? So here I was in my mid-30s. I was single for a long time, and I was someone who was an ambitious professional, didn't have the time for the night clubbing routine or bar hopping or partying, didn't have much time to mix and mingle with friends at the same time. So while still having this desire to have a balance between career and family, I thought about, all right, how is someone to go about finding a partner? Online options had emerged. Going back to the first wave of the internet, Web 1.0 as you talk about them, online matrimony sites. You name it, there's a good chance I may have tried it. Both the Indian versions and the US versions, the Western versions, the more dating-focused versions. But for some reason or the other, it didn't quite cut it for me. There are names that I could take of the better known, the leading matrimonial sites, pure play matrimonial sites that had me wanting to puke. And what I did then was what most consumers would do, which is to take a step back and think that, okay, this platform isn't working for me, let me try something else, or let me lick my wounds and then go back and look at some other way to find a partner. Fast forward 10 years, and I found myself here finishing up an MBA, having entrepreneurial aspirations, and thinking that, wow, the problem is not limited only to me. There are so many around me, educated professionals, for whom it isn't working. And I thought that there had to be a better way, and maybe I could go about building a better way for this target segment. So when you think about a new business, you think about, all right, here is an opportunity, but then a mistake that many people make when they think about starting a new business is, oh, okay, this is a huge market. There's so much of a country that's going online. And keep in mind, in 2009, when you think about matchmaking, India's internet penetration may have been in the high single digits, 7%, maybe 9% max. This is before 2016 and the Reliance Jio revolution of enabling hundreds of millions of Indians to come online through mobile data. Still in the tiny single-digit percentage internet penetration. So you think about, okay, a decade from now, there are so many people going to go online. But then instead of talking about, I'm going to capture, say, a certain chunk of the market, you try to be everything for everybody, you'll end up being nothing for nobody. So it made sense for me to think about what my beachhead would be. What's a niche that makes sense for me to go after? That's part of strategy. Having a clearly differentiated idea and saying that this is how I'm going to win. This is what I want to do. So strategy is, how are you going to win? What do you want to win at? Now, in matchmaking, you have so much differentiation. You have hundreds of religion-based, language-based, community-based platforms catering to these different communities. The niche that I chose was educated professionals like myself. So if you look at the logo of my business, Jodi 365, how about this? Let's have a limit. Maybe I'll not take my brand name more than 10 times, only 10 brand promotions. Is that a deal? Yeah, but it's my story. I own my story, so I'm going to weave my experiences into my story over here. So if you look at the logo, you'll find that it says for quality singles. So that was my beachhead. I'm going to go after this segment that I think is underserved. Because there was a time when I even got a deal going with the IIT Madras Alumni Association saying that here we are alumni, 30,000, 35,000 alumni, many of whom graduated in the 70s, who have sons and daughters of marriageable age today. And we have more recent alumni who are well settled in their professional careers and who might think that it's time to find a life partner also. And what we think about is finding a partner who comes from a good family, who is well educated. We don't care as much about which religion, which community, as long as good family, good education. So, that's what you're catering to at Jodi 65. So I had an MOU with them. I had a deal with them saying that we would be the exclusive matchmaking provider for IIT Madras alumni. And we had similar tie-ups with groups at IIM Bangalore, IIM Calcutta, and out of the US, the network of Indian professionals. So this was the community that I went after, educated professionals. But easier said than done. I like how in your introduction you talked about, culture eats strategy for lunch. It's good to have an idea of, okay, what the plan of action is for me to introduce a differentiated matchmaking platform. Management is how you translate that strategy into something on the ground. So it's about execution. And since Mike Tyson has been back in the news in a recent bout at 58, it's just as well that I think about a famous line of his. There was a time when he was the baddest dude on the planet and ferocious, really fearsome fighter. And people would talk about, they're going to stand up against Mike Tyson and be the one that takes him down. And he'd say that, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's one thing to say that, yes, this is my strategy. I'm going to come up with the next best matchmaking platform. How do you translate that plan into action? And I think about how I had the sense while sitting in the US and thinking that, okay, here's an opportunity for a next generation matchmaking platform out of India. I didn't want to be that NRI who was going to come to India and say that, hey, look, all you fellow people, fellow countrymen, listen to me. I've gone to Mount Sinai and I've come down to these two tablets. I had the humility to think about first returning to India, taking a pulse check, and figuring out whether this would make sense for a changing India, whether my hunch was right, that there was the need, an unmet need, an underserved need for this kind of a service. So I came back to India, and then I thought that if I'm going to build a platform, it has to be a product. How do I go about building a product? There's a good reason why I say something publicly at every chance that I get. It's fashionable to talk about, customer first. Customer is God. You got to treat your customers as if they're the most important thing. And I say, no. The most important thing for me as a business is, of course, it has to be profitable. Where do profits come from? From having a product that is valued by the market. It could be a service. It could be a tangible product. Where does the product come from? The product comes from your people. So I thought that if I'm going to start a new company, I have to have people who can help build this product for me. So think about this. I was freshly back in India after being away for 15 years. And here to start a startup, I would need somebody who can architect this platform. I had a PhD in computational hydrodynamics, so my official degree says naval architecture and scientific computing. While I could have intelligent conversations on tech matters, I didn't have the hardcore skill sets to architect a website. I could work closely with an architect, so I needed a tech lead. I needed a web architect who would build this website for me. Easier said than done. This is before startups were sexy. This is before, you can imagine, Flipkart was just on the scene and you had the Bansal brothers going from door to door handing out bookmarks for Flipkart. And they may have just raised their $10 million from one of the top tier venture capital firms. Good luck trying to get somebody to join your startup. There was one young man, to his credit, he decided to come on board. He said that, okay, I like the opportunity that you've seen. And he had shown the risk tolerance to join a web services company where he was still working for the previous 7 years as employee number 13, if I remember correctly. And I was impressed with his profile. He had even written a book on coding on PHP, a dominant language at the time for web apps. And he said that, yeah, he could come on board and he could even bring 5 people on board. I said, I wouldn't need a team of you plus 5, maybe you and 2 others. He said, yeah, sure. But it was December. He was Christian. He said that Christmas is around the corner. He was going to take a couple of weeks off. There were also a couple of weddings in the family. Can I get back to you in 2 weeks? I said, sure, I can wait 2 weeks. I'd waited 2 months to set up an office and operations in the foundation for operations in Chennai. 3 weeks went by and I didn't hear from him, and I called him and he told me that, yes, while this sounds exciting, I spoke to my father-in-law and he said, don't join a startup. 80% of startups fail. You've been in services, stay in services. That's how humbling it was. And this is one example of the challenge in translating strategy into actual action. And I thought about, how do I then get this product live? People talk about when you're introducing something new, when you're innovating, and now I'll jump ahead. There are these 3 pillars. I've started that strategy. I made a reference to management, which is the art and science of executing on the strategy. And then there's innovation. Innovation, you might think, is a nice to have. Many people make the right case that it is a must have in today's rapidly changing world. Here's another example in the news. Everybody's talking about NVIDIA. You have the CEO showing up in his trademark leather bomber jacket and having Mukesh Ambani having a fireside chat with him. And when Mr. Ambani shows up, you have all the celebrities of Bollywood coming and giving attendance and getting more visibility for this kind of a conversation. NVIDIA could have been bought out by Intel for, who knows, double-digit $1 million. And they've displaced Intel now in the S&P 500, if I noted correctly. I'm not sure about the timing of when it's going to happen. How? Because they have innovated in a way that Intel, which is the darling of semiconductor innovation, has not really kept up. So innovation is something that was rightly said, it's a must-have over here. And there are different kinds of innovation. For me, it started with thinking about, I'm introducing a new product. It's almost in a new category because my experience told me that there were enough matrimony sites. And in the West, there were enough dating sites catering to those who were not quite thinking about matrimony. And the culture is a little different in the US. But even in India, the winds of change were blowing. The insight that I had was that even though there were pockets in India that were more liberal, more progressive than you might see in the West, this is still a country where you would have Hallmark show windows being smashed on Valentine's Day. You'd have couples who would be harassed if they were walking hand in hand on Valentine's Day by right-wing nutcases and bucks saying that, oh, this is a corruption of Indian culture. Let's get them forcibly married. Let's have them say that, try a Rakhi and all that. So if anything can be politicized, it will be politicized. And this is an easy target, a soft target, a corruption of Indian culture. So I had the sense to think that, look, this will not work in mainstream market. So the idea still was that pure play matrimony sites didn't quite appeal to the 20-something, the 30-somethings. And I was still then as part of the 30-something generation. So I came upon this model of a hybrid between the modern and the traditional. A new platform that appeals to the young generation without antagonizing the older generation. That was the genesis for Jodii 365. Not a matrimony 365, not a dating 365, but a smart, sensible hybrid between the two. There are different kinds of ways in which you can innovate. While even having the same product, you can have better processes inside, you can have the same product and you can translate it into different markets, or you can even have different ways of delivering value to customers. So here I had the idea for a different kind of matchmaking platform. This is a strategy. How do I go about winning? So when it comes to winning, you have to have a product. So I talked about the early challenges of building the product, building the website. And I knew that you don't just build a product and say that it's done. It's not once and done. You have to keep innovating, because if there's any software, you know that it's never finished. Feature requirements will change. People will want something better. People will want more. And it didn't make sense to outsource it and have somebody. You cannot be a tech company. You cannot claim to have innovation and have it be outsourced. There are still ways in which some people have pulled it off. There are some famous examples. The founders of Airbnb were not hardcore techies. The founders of Calendly, this calendar software, were not hardcore techies. Steve Jobs, one of the most celebrated tech CEOs, was not quite a techie himself. But I thought that we had to have the product in-house. So I came upon this hybrid approach again, of not giving it to a web development shop to build it, but working with somebody who ran a web services company, with the idea that he would deploy a team and gradually hand over not just the initial minimum viable product, but also a couple of team members to me in-house. So that was one of the ways in which I thought, here's how I can actually translate my idea for something new, something innovative, into something that I can execute and run in-house. There have been lots of painful lessons over the years on management. And I found myself thinking about how much I was operating in just management mode instead of thinking about how rapidly the winds of change were blowing, even in the tech space. To the extent that I would have conversations with one of my mentors, one of the celebrated strategy professors at Booth, when I would tell him that I find myself being more in management mode, manager mode, than thinking strategically. And I appreciated what he said, which is why there is work for people like him, experts at strategy. That's why there's place for someone like a Boston Consulting Group, because people get caught up, management teams get caught up in management. And I can come to a prescription for how do you balance these three pillars within an organization, between strategy and management and innovation. Returning to my train of thought, the challenge is more so given that I have been a solo founder. And when you talk to investors, they talk about, yeah, we believe in backing teams. They tend to be nervous of solo founder companies because it takes a lot of complementary skill sets that is difficult to find in one individual. Someone may be great at tech, someone may be great at the business side of things. Another famous example, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Wozniak was the geek. Wozniak was the one who made those motherboards and assembled the early Apple computers. And Steve Jobs was the brains behind the business. I'm sure their design teams have not gone underappreciated. But it takes teams. And here I was, I'm grateful that, yes, I managed to build a team, build a strong tech team in-house. But then I found myself not quite keeping up with things on a strategic front, not innovating enough. So we were slow to go mobile. And I'm talking about having founded this business in 2009, when you didn't have smartphones. Forget having apps. People were not even accustomed to browsing websites on the mobile web. So it took some catching up to think that yes, we need to have our web app also that was responsive enough and could be easily accessed on these smartphones. And then apps came on the scene. And again, I'm not ashamed to say that as a team, we were slow in recognizing that yes, there's going to be the shift towards apps. We need to have an app. And even when it came to apps, it takes entirely new kind of skill sets. And those skill sets were not quite available in the marketplace. So there were these shortcuts. You could, instead of having native apps, you could build hybrid apps, but those tended to be clunky. You ask me for my scars, I can tell you about all the scars and all the bruises and all the lessons learned. I hope I'm giving you a glimpse of how it's one thing to read about, oh yeah, strategy and look at this company. You have these case studies in business school textbooks. Consulting firms like to talk about, oh great, we can come and advise you on strategy. It's hard to pull off while running a business. Something that I've done more recently is, if you were to go and look up Jodi 365, I like that, yes, the opportunity that we saw, a hybrid between the pure play matrimony sites and the newer dating apps, is something that has had legs. We stayed true to that positioning for years. But then here, I give credit for one of these dating apps that came out of nowhere a few years after I began Jodi 365, and their innovation was phenomenal. Tinder. Who hasn't heard of Tinder? And for all the married people among you, please stay away from Tinder. Yeah? It's for good reason. It's not quite a dating app. It's a hookup app because it's like easy come. Yeah, it's like a meat market, and good luck to them for getting the mindshare that they have, for getting the audience that they have, but their innovation was phenomenal. You get on board within seconds, and all they recognize that all people care about is if you see somebody at a bar, if you see somebody at a restaurant, okay, this person's hot, this person's not hot. But do I want to sleep with this person? Yeah. How far about am I willing to go to sleep with this person? How old a person do I want to get laid with? I'm sorry to be that as crude, because that's how crude the app has been perceived to be, fairly or unfairly. But their innovation was the swipe right, swipe left concept on these smartphones, on these new devices that everybody was accessing apps on. Credit to them for the innovation, and they've been enough. And I think back to how the year before Tinder, I had one of the top tier VCs, globally renowned venture capital firms, to their credit, that recognized that the matrimony space in India was ripe for disruption. And they said that they'd been looking closely at alternatives to pure play matrimonial sites. Somehow they looked up, they heard about Jodi 365, and it was flattering that they rolled out the red carpet saying that, yes, we'd like to back you. We can be the catalyst for your growth. We think we've taken a close look at Jodi 365 among 17 different investment possibilities in this space. And this is after coming within a fingernail of investing in the Series A of another dating platform, which ultimately they passed on because it was just another dating platform. Whereas they felt that Jodi 365 would beat everything else out there. And this was pre-Tinder. And I wasn't looking at funding at the time. I didn't think that taking more money was going to be the solution to my problems at the time. So it comes back to, again, it's all tied together. You think about, all right, what is strategy? Some people might think that the winner takes all, go big or go home. There are different models also. One of the business models may be a network effects business. I might be getting a little too technical over here. I'm not sure how many of you may appreciate what it takes to run a marketplace, this kind of a matching network where you need to match men with women, women with men. Similar to how when Amazon came to India, they knew that e-commerce was going to grow in a big way in India, but how can you get the consumers if there weren't enough sellers on the platform? How can you get sellers if there were not going to be enough consumers, enough buyers on the platform? So when you build a marketplace, you had to get both the supply side and the demand side, and more or less at the same time. Similar to how when Visa and MasterCard were introducing credit cards, and they had to go to businesses and say, oh, why don't you accept this novel payment mechanism? So you'll get more business because people won't feel the need to have to take out their wallet and pay cash that they may not have, accept credit cards. But then for shoppers to accept credit cards, they need to know that there would be enough consumers coming in with credit cards. So they had to get businesses to accept credit cards. They had to get consumers signing up for these credit cards. So it's a challenge to build a marketplace. It's a chicken and egg thing. What do you build first? The advice, again, there are enough people who have learned the hard lessons and shared the hard lessons. Build on this, get the supply side first. So Amazon very smartly, in the background, they went and got lakhs of sellers in India, and then they went online in a big way. They carpet bombed the airwaves saying that, okay, Indians, come. There are lots of products on this catalog at Amazon, or the cow, show me more. You'd have those options. But in my kind of business, in matchmaking, you don't really have true network effects. It's not that you get the men, you get the women, and you have them forever, customers for life. They come with the idea of finding a match and disappearing. It's like a one-shot deal. The better you are at finding a match for someone, the sooner you lose them. They don't need you anymore. Thank you, good luck, goodbye, I may not have to see you again. So you don't quite really have entrenched network effects in this kind of business. These are some of the things that you learn the hard way. What does it take to really build an enduring business? So I may have lost my train of thought, but I'll touch upon something related. You got to keep innovating, thinking about how with all these apps that have come on the scene, there's now swiping fatigue. How do you deal with that? The problems that are there with online matchmaking are still there. I see the occasional young face, young head nodding. I will not make eye contact so that you don't have to feel bad about, oh yeah, tell me about it, having to suffer with not knowing half the profiles are fake, half the profiles may be genuine. It's like the classic advertising problem. You know that half your advertising dollars are being wasted. You're not sure which half. You're not sure which is a genuine profile, which is a fake profile. And even if a profile is genuine, you're not sure whether they're being managed by a mommy and daddy, whereas a son or daughter is living their best life somewhere else and not quite ready to talk business. So this has led to a more recent pivot with my business of a purely personalized service, catering to those who are really serious, who have deep pockets to pay for these premium personalized services, while having a lighter version of Jodi 365, which we've just rolled out for the masses. One could talk for a couple of hours. This is the kind of topic that I think would be more suited for a workshop, where you talk about, okay, these are the challenges that lead to strategy-related challenges in my business. And I appreciate that there's also a lot of gray hair in the audience over here, because look, all of you have your struggles, your challenges in your businesses, how you've been dealing with them. I've given some of you over here some perspectives into the challenges relating to strategy and management and innovation in my kind of business. A lot different from what you read in textbooks, where it's all, oh yeah, after the fact. So easy, so straightforward. How do you pull all of these together? And I can tell you, I come here talking not as someone who's figured it out. You learn by doing. And I also, again, have enough sense to realize that I'm still dealing with a business that has maybe P&L impact of a few crores a year. I'm not running a 50 crore business. I'm not running a 500 crore business. So the scale at which I'm dealing with these challenges relating to management and innovation and strategy are a lot different from somebody having 200 people on board. I've got 20 people, less than 20 people on board. We are a nimble organization. What I've encouraged my teammates to do, and this is getting into the interplay between strategy and management, to some extent innovation, is to keep your eyes and ears on the ground, be listening to the consumers, paying attention to trends. I'm not ashamed to admit again, I was caught sleeping being so focused on building a better first version, a second version, that, oh, wait, we still are a desktop web app, not responsive for the mobile web. We don't have a mobile app. Okay, then we have a hybrid app, but we don't have a native app. Give me a minute while I recollect my train of thought. Yeah, so I run a small team, and one of the better things that I've done is to encourage every new hire to be bold. You cannot innovate if you're afraid to speak up. Or if you think that, well, this may not go down well with the boss, this may not be taken seriously, my manager may feel threatened. So, in a way, I've been influenced by the culture that I've known, the professional culture that I've known in the US, where I was from my early youth into my mid-30s. I've really come to appreciate that culture. So, to think that there was a time when I appreciated the perks of getting a PhD and being known as, Dr. Anil Kumar. Once I had the PhD, I didn't care two hoots about it. I tell even the youngest interns at the company, it's a first name culture. You can call me Anil, I can call you Venkatesh, and we can still have mutual respect for each other without having to give this much deference. Because if you show too much deference, how will you be willing to call me out on my crap? That, boss, what are you smoking? This idea is garbage. You'll take us off the cliff. So, it has been important for me to have my teammates feel empowered. I challenge them to challenge me. I encourage them to be bold and speak up, because I tell them in all humility, I don't have the right answers. Otherwise, we would have been a public company by now. And we're not. Not that I aspire to that, but that is one benchmark of success. Here a startup has taken funding from private investors and has gone public, and everybody gets liquidity, and you go and buy your island or retire in the Bahamas. The other thing is to have this occasional timeout and to detach yourself from thinking about the day-to-day management versus thinking at least on a monthly basis, if not a weekly basis. No, a monthly basis, have these strategy reviews. And that's to make sure that you're not missing out on whatever may be changing, whatever trends may be changing, that you might need to do a little course correction. And it's not just about rewiring your strategy, but even at management, it's one thing to think about, yes, this was a strategy and this is the plan of action, but things keep changing. Look at, even in the last 5 years, how much change there was. COVID hit everybody. You had to deal with, wow, it's not business as usual. Most businesses had to shut down if they were offline business or go on a long sabbatical. And then you had the workforce that was dispersed and remote. Who hasn't dealt with it, right? Whether it's on the employer side or on the employee side. And having to deal with surprises, having to deal with change is part of management. How nimble are you? How responsive are you? How smart are you in adapting to change? And if that weren't enough, I have a long-running thread on Twitter. You're welcome. I invite you to look me up, AKTXT, in which I joke about, I maybe run a business, but I say tongue-in-cheek that I'm in the business of ensuring that my business is in compliance with regulations. Month after month after month. India was what? Number 140 in the global index of ease of doing business. They say it has come up to 70, but it's not 7. And I feel the pain as a business owner, as an operator, that it's still 70. Oh goodness, you have babus who are just happy to put up with some new jump through the hoops like a monkey. Go file this, go file that. It's all part of dealing with the situation. At the same time, a silver lining to it is, when you have these hurdles which might dissuade somebody else, And if you really care about something, care about going after something, you know that, okay, these are going to discourage the other folks, and you just show up without worrying about dealing with these additional hurdles, it means that you're going to be a little ahead already. There are probably other thoughts that I can get into on the integration between innovation and management. But again, I don't have to worry as much in the small organization that I have, because we have enough of a line of sight into what's in the foreseeable future that already there's enough on our product roadmap, on our innovation calendar, so to speak. One thing that I like to think about quite a bit is this enduring line from a Shah Rukh Khan movie, which is relevant over here. I'm still on my journey as a business owner, looking to take Jodi 365 into delivering more impact at scale, and not just Jodi 365, but the lighter version that we are going to make a lot more noise about. And my story is still unwritten. Picture abhi baki hai. All of you, wherever you are on your journeys, whether you're still a student, management student, whether you're a young professional, whether you're a seasoned professional, whether you're looking at doing something different, and I've not even touched upon entrepreneurship, because even with established organizations, you can't afford to go about business as usual. How do you deal with the winds of change? How do you deal with the risk of getting disrupted? Let's not even talk about Intel, because pity them for being caught with their pants down. One large organization that has done a good job about entrepreneurship is this tax products company out of the US, Intuit, makers of TurboTax, the popular tax filing software in the US. They have empowered innovation teams internally. Windows for the longest time suffered from this, because if there was some innovation that was going to be a threat to their cash cow, the Windows operating system, there'd be these territorial turf wars within the company, and they say, no, let's not do that. It requires you're willing to be disrupted, you're willing to disrupt your own cash cow to come out on the other side. Classic example is Kodak. They even had digital technology, but they didn't want to disrupt their film cameras business. So even if you're at large organizations, more power to you in figuring out how you stay relevant, how you stay as a going concern at your business. I wish there were more opportunity to have this be more of a workshop. As I tell to my team members, one of the benefits of coming on board and working with me, working at my small company, is that you learn not only from us, you learn with us. There's a lot that I'm sure that I could learn from many of you, both the younger professionals on your perspectives, because you're closer to what's happening on the ground, trends that I need to be aware of running the consumer social product and business that I do, and even the more seasoned professionals among you. I'm going to be here for a little while. I'd love to linger and have it be more of a two-way conversation. But again, I'm thankful Captain Vijay Kumar, Mr. Shiv Kumar, for this opportunity, and to MMA for allowing me to share my perspectives as an operator. Good luck to us all.
Hello? Check. Check. Yeah. Thank you, Anil. Lovely listening to your story and trying to connect on what strategy, management, and innovation is for a startup like yours. And for you to dissect this matrimonial industry and to find a gap which has not been served by many matrimonial sites is indeed a great innovation. You slice the gap, thought about how to bring these people together, thought about the right people to be part of your Jodi 365. I think clearly its USP and a differentiation. So there are many questions that I have. If we have to answer many questions, then probably if the answers are short, then we can take in many questions, but some of it very difficult to get it short. Well, anyway, let's try it. How do you compare innovation level of Indians with that of Western counterparts? And the part two of that question is there any innovation index?
I have to be careful over here. I can't claim to speak of all the innovation that may be out there. To some extent, I'm like a horse with blinders. I have enough problems before me as a business owner on a day-to-day basis. So I can't claim to know of how innovative Indians are as a whole and Indians aren't. I have my biases, so I'll give you my biased perspectives over here. On the one hand, I think that there are a lot of copycats over here. There are many Indian businesses that are copycat businesses, which is not a bad thing. Some of it has to do with where they see, for example, within startups, where they see the funding opportunities. So you could blame it on the VCs in India, the venture capitalists in India. They look at, oh, great, there was an Airbnb that came out in the West. Let's fund a Stayzilla, for example, an early Airbnb clone. Oh, there was Tinder that has caught fire in the West. Why, even before Tinder, I remember while preparing to go into B school or freshly into business school, there were 39 Groupon clones that got funded in India. So is this innovative? I'm not sure this is innovative. But at the same time, I don't think the innovativeness of Indians has been appreciated enough. Maybe it has. There's a jugaad mindset. And maybe there's more awareness and more appreciation for the inventive spirit of Desis. I think it's in the human spirit. There's the good, bad, ugly, the mediocre, the exceptional in every society. And it applies even to inventiveness. Necessity is the mother of invention. So wherever there's a necessity, and here is a country that is strapped for resources, there is this inventive spirit. Look at UPI as an example. Look at, I'm not an elder statesman yet. At some point, I think when I have less energy, I'd slow down. I'd be able to reflect on more of these. But I have these two dueling perspectives, that you have a lot more motivation to fund what may be seen as sure winners that can be translated into the Indian market. And at the same time, you have homegrown solutions that I think need to be applauded and appreciated more. About the index, I'm not sure. As crisp as I could be, bear with me. Both bolta hu. Yeah.
Another question is from a GM retired from SAIL. Innovation is the modern business mantra. A lot of innovative ideas are likely to be thrown up. With various departments in conflict, how should the multiple innovative ideas be moderated?
Again, my limited perspectives over here. It may be useful for you to look at how you have these turf wars that are handled within, say, a Microsoft, within some of these large companies. Generally, again, I'm a big believer that it takes a champion to do something new, which is why founder-led startups succeed to a larger extent than startups where you have CEOs that are drop-shipped. There may be a time and place for adult supervision to come in and to have, say, the founders who may be told to step aside in the best interest of their baby when after they've taken a startup from 0 to 1 and let somebody who may be a corporate executive type take it from 1 to 100. But if continued innovation is needed, look at a useful stereotype over here. It took a Steve Jobs to be brought back to Apple for Apple to regain its glory days. I think, again, what is now a popular catchword, founder mode, I think it takes that. So if someone wants to encourage this kind of innovation, it's a good problem to have if you have different teams within a company fighting for, hey, I want to push this, I want to push that. I say that's a good problem to have. Encourage more of those. And I'm not a fan of things happening by committee, things happening by consensus. So give people, let them duke it out, find a way to have the best ideas win, find a way to seed multiple ideas, but that's the limit to how credibly I can speak about this as someone from with an outsider's perspective.
Thank you, Anil. This is something related to your business. What has been your biggest challenge as a founder and CEO in integrating these three elements into your business venture? You spoke about your challenge.
I'm not sure see, the biggest challenge, there are many challenges, enough things to keep me up at night. Which reminds me, I can go back and refresh the thoughts that prompted this tweet of mine in which I came down at 20 different challenges that could keep me up at night as a founder and CEO. So bandwidth is the biggest thing for me. There's only so much that one person can physically do. So it has motivated me, it has told me about how imperative it is for me to delegate more. And I'll admit that it hasn't been easy for me. I am an inveterate micromanager. I'm not proud of the fact that I'm often too much of a perfectionist. I need to remind myself that good enough is good enough, that done is better than perfect. You know all of these things. So a challenge is, focusing on what needs to get done as quickly as it can get done. Management bandwidth.
Yeah. And another one is, can you throw some ideas on how to foster a culture of innovation?
How to foster a culture of
innovation. Is there a culture that you can build within an organization? And how do you actually bring in innovation as a culture?
Yeah. To some extent, I touched upon it, which is encouraging that spirit, encouraging that creative spirit, and letting people know that it's okay to fail. Because this, for good reason, this long-held corporate wisdom in companies in the US, nobody gets fired for hiring IBM, right? Because that's the conservative bet. Whereas if you think that, there's a great startup that's an alternative to IBM, that, look, they're offering cloud services or they're offering this analytics. If that goes south, some heads would roll. So someone who may be a VP of, say, marketing would be hesitant. So one of the best things that you can do is to allow people the freedom to fail if they make a gutsy decision. It's okay. Because you can't come up with something new without falling short most of the time. And that's how, in my small way, I've been encouraging people to be bold, to speak up, and it's okay to make mistakes. Learn from mistakes. But yes, to be bold.
Yeah, thank you. So can you share insights into the role of AI and data analytics in enhancing strategy and innovation? Is there a role of AI?
In enhancing data and
data analytics in enhancing strategy and innovation.
So it's interesting that you ask this, because I think AI is a useful tool in many facets of our daily life, our work life. I don't think you can expect AI to be your genie that lays it all out. But at a minimum, what are the things that you may be overlooking? What are the at least low-hanging fruit that you should be thinking about? I'll even go as far as saying that if you want somebody to come and give a talk on strategy, management and innovation, you can ask a chat GPT to write things up, because you have the accumulated knowledge of humanity through these LLMs, and you'd get a big picture understanding of these three pillars. But then it's something else to translate that into real world experiences that may be out of its reach yet. So look at it as a useful tool as, say, cross-checker, as in, have I considered this, or have I overlooked something, or at a minimum, start at a higher level to have a better foundation using AI. It's for good reason people say, think of it as an intern. So if I had, say, no intern, I'd say, hey, look, what should I think about when it comes to strategy in this industry? And not doing it, I think, would mean that you might get left behind by somebody who is able to be more resourceful, more productive, having these smart interns at their disposal.
Thank you. What common mistakes do business make when trying to integrate innovation into their strategy?
I can speak about my mistakes. What common mistakes do businesses make? I'm not sure they think enough about innovation. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. Maybe they don't, as I've long felt, maybe they don't have the luxury to think about innovation. They get really caught up in the day-to-day in management mode until they get disrupted. So common mistake maybe, and then the other thing maybe more so in our culture, this culture of deference, as in, most decisions are made by Hippo, the highest paid person in the office. That's a disaster for a culture of innovation. But I don't have a wide enough lens. I don't have a bird's eye view of things, so I limit myself to my anecdotal data.
Fantastic. This is a question which you may like. How has your background in research, engineering, and entrepreneurship influenced your approach to strategy and innovation?
I am who I am what I am, for better or worse. I've been informed by my experiences. I like to think in positive ways because there is a process to strategy and innovation. As much as people may think that, it's about creative genius, it's about a brainwave, I think people underappreciate the importance of consistency, just showing up and making these micro improvements 1% at a time, 1% a day. And that is process driven. And if somebody has a background in engineering and the sciences, it comes naturally, this kind of left brain thinking. The downside is it's deadly having a PhD. And I think of something from my consulting days where a senior principal would be a little worried. He'd have to tell me that, look, this is not a research project. You don't need to make everything a research project. And if in the early months, they even said that, okay, if you have a scope and budget estimate from one of the PhD analysts in the consulting firm that I was working at, a boutique consulting firm, multiply it by a factor of pi, because they'd want to analyze it to death. You don't have that luxury. So that is required, and it's not great for shipping products either. Ship things out as quickly as possible without making a total ass of it. So I like to think on the whole positive, but there are some drawbacks also for the background that I've had.
Yeah. We just have one or two questions. Any questions from the audience, please? You already have, yeah, that's it. Okay. What are your recommendations for building and managing a high-performance team in today's hybrid or remote work environments? Almost you touched upon it.
A high-performance?
For a high-performance team, what should be the hybrid in today's remote work environments?
See, we've all seen work from home. We've seen a return to work from the office. I'm a believer in people working together. I'm a believer in the creative energy that comes from and the more efficient collaboration that comes from working out of an office. As much as I value the convenience of working from home myself, and everybody does, I'd like to see more of a return to working from the office. But then there's a good case that can also be made for the flexibility that comes from different people having different things going on in their lives and you're not being able to otherwise have talent that would not be able to work from the office, it's a tough thing, and it falls wherever it falls. I'll take my own example. I've had a committed team that has been with me for 4+ years to 8+ years. And post-COVID, everybody returned to their respective cities and towns. And we've stayed mostly remote team. And I didn't feel the need, I didn't have the stupidity to say, okay, I think it's great to work out of the office, all of you come back. It would have meant that they would not come back. So even if I thought that there are some drawbacks, and I just remembered another point, what can companies do, what can teams do to help foster a culture of innovation, to break down the walls between, say, the customer-facing team and the marketing team and the product team and the management team. So literally I'd stay, when we were in the office, have this door be constantly open. Or I wish we could tear down this wall between two teams working out of two different rooms. In the same way, yeah, what's the best thing that we can do? Come online as quickly as possible, collaborate as quickly as possible. You have these tools, different strokes for different folks, whatever works for them. My bias is, yeah, as much as possible, work from the office. But good luck to everybody figuring it out, as a society too.
Thank you. One question from my side. My son Vikram often he interned with Spotify in his early days, and he was talking about trend spotting. That's what differentiates many of the European companies. They say they're ahead of the curve, especially in the fashion industry. They're able to trend spot what will happen in a year or 2 years later. So what does trend spotting in the matrimonial industry look for you? How does the trend look for you? How would people search for a girl or a boy 5 years from now?
Thank you so much for this opportunity to put one more plug for Jodi 365. To some extent, I've seen how there is, as I pointed out earlier, a lot of swiping fatigue. People are just exhausted, whether it's the singles themselves, the 20-somethings, 30-somethings, or even 40-somethings who are looking for a second inning, or the parents. They search for hours and hours a week, if not a couple of hours a day on typical evenings. And it's a jungle out there. So a trend, and the other thing which is related to this fatigue from just swiping is that you end up feeling like monkeys where you have to spray and pray. Send interest to as many folks as possible in the hope that, okay, you might get some interest back. And more so among men who are wired to shoot their shot. And what happens is the women get drowned by, okay, if you see any of the young women nodding in the audience, you know that the pain is real. You'd get bombarded by messages from every idiot shooting their shot, to the extent that there's even been this meme on a dating app. You have, if you swipe in one direction, it means you like the profile, and if they like you back, you can get chatting. Somebody created a mechanical device that would just keep automatically swiping right on every profile, because men have learned that, hey, look, send likes to everybody, and you might have a small, tiny fraction that shows some love back, and you can get chatting, not discriminating at all. And what happens is even the good ones, even the serious ones, get drowned in the crowd. It's almost like you have this flood headed towards every woman's inbox. So what happens is that you have a very tiny fraction of these swipes that translate to mutual connections, that translate to chats. And even when chats happen, people don't know how to have a conversation. It just stops at hi. And then you think, hey, look, I get bombarded with highs. How is your high different from the other high? It's very dispiriting. And talking about these trends that I have observed. So there's an absence of a human connection. So you have to have a chat with enough people, and you don't have the time to chat with too many people. So though you're not enough profile views that turn to likes, that turn to mutual likes, that turn to chats, that turn to prolonged chats that turn to phone conversations, that turn to follow-up phone conversations, that turn to a first meeting and a second meeting. The funnel is exhausting. So people feel the absence of these human connections. So naturally, whenever you have a problem, somebody sees the opportunity for a solution. So there's more of a focus on screw the apps. Let's have these meetups. So we've also experimented with online meetups. You also have offline meetups. Come in a low pressure setting. These are hard to scale though. And the other thing is if someone is serious and you don't have the time to go through the whole process, how we've responded, also by making it purely personalized. In the future, I think AI is a tool. There's probably a lot of value in getting more guidance from an AI tool that help you have a conversation. So it's like having not just an intern, but a coach by your side. We do this at a human level through a personalized advisor. There are elements that can be productized, but then if there were a different discussion on how, if I was starting a business today, having learned all that I have from all the mistakes that I've made over the last 15 years, how differently I would do it, I would focus on serve people, learn from people, and then think about productizing it. Did I cover?
Yeah. Thanks, Anil. So, as you said, big journey, Baki Hai. I think that's a well summed up sentence from a movie. But let me tell you, your own story or your own entrepreneurial journey in which you've touched upon strategy, management, and innovation in very clear terms, in simple words. Very happy about whatever you've spoken. And I'm sure all the audience here or the people who are watching online would truly appreciate. And the warning that is given you is not to go to tender just after the meeting. Correct, tender? Yeah. So go back, have your dinner, and probably group captain will tell the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shivakumar. Great evening. I think a lot of insights on innovation strategy. Thanks so much, Anil, for sharing it. I should say it's very, very candid and very informative, actually. Thanks so much. And thank you, Shivakumar, for ably chairing the session. Very quickly step forward and present a memento on behalf of over 680 viewers are watching it online. Thanks for sharing all the questions. Book published by us. It's got some lovely. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Till we meet again, bye-bye and good night. You have time to interact with the speaker. You're most welcome. Thank you.